I'll never forget the day I decided to commit suicide. I was living in a tiny apartment. It was fall of 1992, living in a tiny apartment in North Hollywood, California. I had just lost my job, couldn't pay the rent, had no money. My girlfriend had just left me. It was like a country song, but it was really happening to me. So I decided, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. So I went to take my own life. Now, at the very last moment, my life was spared, but I didn't know why. And I realized that I got to that point because I didn't know the answer to a very important question. And that is, why am I here? What is my purpose on the earth? And what do I want to do with the rest of my life? I realized that I didn't know how to answer any of those questions. And so I went on a long journey to find the answer to these questions that humans have been asking for centuries. Well, along the way, I made several discoveries, some of which I'd like to share with you today. Now, the title of my talk is Done with Head Trash, a new way to think about thinking. So the question is, well, Noah, what is head trash? Well, head trash is the voice in your head that says, I can't do it because, ... And then you just fill in the blank. So what I'm talking about are goals. Right now, we've heard so much about goals, right? We all hear about goal setting. I've heard that a million times. And it's true, it's very important. Goals are very important because we humans are goal-oriented organisms. We're always thinking about what do we want, whether it's to make more money, to start a business, grow a business, write a book, lose weight, find love, or a ham sandwich for lunch. We're always thinking about what do we want. And that's great. But here's what's interesting. What we don't hear as much about is what happens after you set the goal. Now, here's what I mean. Let's say you have a goal to make more money. We all want more money, right? And so let's say you own a business and you want to grow your business. So you want to go from 100,000 to 1 million, or 1 million to 10 million, or 10 million to 100 million, whatever the number is. And so you say, well, Noah, I want to make more money, but I don't have the time, right? I can't do it because I'm too busy. I've already got 1,000,001 things to do, and I don't have the time. Meanwhile, what if I could show you how to actually gain back 1 to 3 hours per day so that you actually get more done in less time? And then another excuse. Well, no, I want to make more money, but I can't afford it. It takes money to make money, and so I'm already tapped out. I don't have the money, so I can't grow my business. I can't make more money. Meanwhile, what if I could show you how to use the money you already have to leverage what you have to get more of what you want? See, that's the problem with head trash. Head trash limits us. It puts blinders on us so that we can't see the opportunities right in front of our face. Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Now, with all due respect to Mr. Ford, I've updated that phrase. And what I like to say is, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you make yourself right. That means if you say, I want to do X, but I don't have the time, you don't have the time. You make it true. I want to do Y, but I don't have the money, you make it true. So this is one time in your life where you don't want to be right. So another analogy I like to give when we're talking about head trash and goals is driving your car. So imagine you want to drive your car, right? Now, what is a car? A car is a vehicle to help you reach your destination faster than you walking, right? And so in your car, you have two forces at work, the driving force of the foot on the gas and the restraining force of the foot on the brake, right? So let's say you want to go down the road to a grocery store, pick up some milk and eggs. That's your destination. That's a goal, right? Because a goal is, in fact, a destination. But what happens is, what if, unbeknownst to you, you had developed the unconscious habit of driving down the road of life with one foot on the brake? How long would it take you to reach your destination? A long, long, long time. And so what happens is millions of people are experiencing something like this. They're frustrated because they're not reaching the goals fast enough. And so they look for help, right? The personal development industry, self-help. So we've heard this a million times, right? Set your goals and work harder. Not bad advice, but there's a little problem here. So what happens is, let's say you're driving down the road and you have one foot on the brake and you're not reaching your goals as fast as you want. So guru number one comes along and they say, you know what your problem is? You need a new type of gas. right? You got to put in this high octane gas, very expensive, but put in the best gas you can find, and that will fix your problem. You say, all right, go to the gas station, put in the most high octane expensive gas, get back in your car, but you're still doing the same habit, getting the same result. Guru number 2 comes along, and they say, you know what you need? You need a new set of tires, right? These tires aren't good enough. Put in these really expensive tires. Put these expensive tires on, and that will fix your problem. You say, all right, go to the car, tire store, expensive tires, put them on, get back in your car, same habit, same result. Guru number 3 comes along. You know what you need? You need a new car. Right? You should get a really expensive Italian sports car like mine, right? And you go on his social media and he looks so cool with his cars and houses and yachts and right? And you go, well, all right, I guess he knows what he's doing. So you trade in your car, which was perfectly fine, buy a new expensive Italian sports car, but you get back in that car, you're still doing the same habit and getting the same result. So meanwhile, you've spent all this time, money, and effort on the wrong solutions to the wrong problem. So what if I came along and I said, excuse me, do you know you have your foot on the brake? And you go, no. And I say, yeah, you know, if you get your foot off the brake, you actually reach your goals a lot faster and easier. You're like, really? Yeah. You just do these simple things, get your foot off the brake, and then you can reach your goals like 10 times faster and easier without having to spend a lot more time and money. You're like, when do we start? So how do we get our foot off the brake so we can be done with head trash? Well, one of the things I like to teach is my method that I call affirmations. Now, I didn't say that word wrong. This is a new word for many of you, affirmations. Now, if you've ever read a self-help book, you know what an affirmation is. An affirmation is something we've heard a million times, and it's a statement of something you want to be true, right? So a classic affirmation is, I am rich. And you say, I am rich, and your brain goes, no, you're not. Right? Am I right? All right, so we say these positive statements, we want to believe them, but most of the time we just don't believe it. In fact, a scientific study was done on this very topic. The University of Waterloo showed that 75% of the people who use affirmations actually end up more frustrated than before. So imagine if you had a smartphone that didn't work 3 out of the 4 times you went to use it. You'd probably get a new phone, wouldn't you? Well, that's what I did. I invented a new phone for your brain. So I discovered affirmations in April of 1997 in the shower. In fact, I call it the shower that changed everything. We've all had those aha moments in the shower, right? And so I was thinking about this because I read every self-help book, and they all said the same thing. Well, just use these affirmations, use these statements, and write them down, blah, 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 and I post them all over my wall. I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful. Meanwhile, the reality was, no, I'm not. I'm broke, unhappy, and miserable. So I said, what the heck is going on around here? What aren't they telling us? And so I was thinking about this. It was driving me nuts. And I said, well, wait a minute. What are we talking about? We're talking about beliefs, because if we want to change our lives, we have to change our beliefs. Well, what is belief? Well, a belief is just a thought. Okay, what is thought? And I realized that human thought is the process of asking and searching for answers to questions. Not statements, but questions. Let me prove it to you. Why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Now, do you know what just happened in your brain? You started to search for the answer. Just like a computer searching its files, right? Or a Google search. Your brain's like a computer, right? So right now, your brain is searching its files. The sky's blue because, I don't know. but it's searching, right? In fact, you can't not do it. So I said, wait a second. If the human mind is automatically searching for answers to questions, why are we going around making statements we don't believe? Why don't we just cut out the middleman? I said, well, what would that look like? Well, let's see. You got the statement or affirmation, I am rich, to which your brain goes, yeah, right. So I said, well, then what would the question be? And then I said, why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Go ahead, ask yourself that question. Why am I so rich? Now, what's your brain doing? Searching for the answer. So what I'm teaching is the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap, right? This is an ancient law. It's been taught for centuries. But what are we sowing? We're sowing seeds of thought. And yet, what are most people doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I so fat? Why does nothing ever work out for me? Why can't I lose weight? Why isn't my business growing? Why can't I get more customers? Why is there always more month left at the end of the money? That's usually a rolling one, so you're good. Very good. All right. So guess what? When you ask lousy questions, what do you get? Lousy answers, and that creates a lousy life. So I said, wait a second, what if instead of asking lousy questions lead to lousy answers, create a lousy life, what if we just flip the whole thing on its head? Start asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers and create a wonderful life. And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, I said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And so I had to give it a name, and the name I gave it was affirmations. AFFORMATIONS, affirmations. Now, many people over the years have asked me, well, Noah, how'd you come up with that word, affirmations? Well, the word affirmations, right, the old one we're all used to, comes from the Latin word firmare, which means to make firm. Now, the word affirmations that I invented, and by the way, it's perfectly legitimate to invent a new word, right? When you have a new way of looking at the universe or new technology, isn't it true we often need a new word? Internet, software, computer, artificial intelligence, right? These are all new words in terms of human history. They've only been around a very short time, but now, of course, we use them every day, right? New technology, new word. This is a new technology of the mind, right? So affirmations comes from the Latin word formare, which means to form or give shape to. So the question I often ask is, well, what if you're making something firm, but it's in the wrong form? That means you formed the life you didn't even want. Why am I so fat? Why am I so stupid? Why can't I make more money? You formed it, it became firm, and now there's your life. Well, now, using my affirmations method, you can take conscious control of the questions you're asking. Change your questions, change your habits, change your results, and thereby change your life. Now, I started my talk by sharing the worst day of my life. And looking back, now, I realize that I got to that point because I was asking all the wrong questions. And now, using my affirmations method and done with head trash framework, I've created a life for myself and my family that I could have only dreamed of back then. So if it can work for me, it can work for anybody. So I encourage you to ask better questions. Get your foot off the brake so that you too can be done with head trash. Thank you. Thank you very much.